The only simplicity to be trusted is the simplicity to be found on the far side of complexity. Alfred North Whitehead. And my friends, we make things simple by concentrating on price movement and volume and using our trend lines to help us focus on that even more. Let's jump into these charts. We see everything's up for the day except 20-year U.S. government bonds. They are down about 0.5%. But let's jump first into the S&P 500. What do we see going on here? Well, we had a red spinning top last week. We have a doji right now this week. When we look at our recently completed 2-day candle, we see that it is a green spinning top, indecision tending up. We can see on the half-day chart for a day and a half, things have been ranging up quite strongly. And again, up 0.84% for the day for the S&P. We're looking at the volume right here. It's below average at this point. One more day to go. We'll see if it gets up there. Again, there is downward pressure on the market after things bounced off this prior ceiling on the S&P. But again, we did not have volume to confirm that high mark. We have seen, this acting like, this purple line acting like a ceiling, ranging it down, but we didn't activate this trade because we didn't have the volume to back up the peak there. And we did have high volume with this red spinning top, but when you can't combine that with a peak top, it doesn't make us feel comfortable. That's why we are not in this trade. We don't have anything to lose as we continue to watch things go forward. It may heat up in a down move. It may move back up. There's lots of indecision here. It's almost a doji. When we look at the 2-day chart, it's staying below that weekly trend line. However, the half day has pressed through it throughout the course of the day. And in fact, we saw the wick on yesterday afternoon's candlestick pushing through. So we're just waiting, watching, seeing what's going to sort out in the market. And again, if we have volume that matches up with a price change in our Heikin-Ashi candlesticks, then of course we'll be ready to pull the trigger. But remember, first rule of trading is don't lose money. Second rule of trading, don't lose money. Third rule of trading, make money. And how do you make money? You follow the trends, you follow the patterns that work. And right now, we don't have a workable pattern. We would just be throwing money at hope. And you know what? It's a lot more fun to go to Vegas if you want to do that, because at least you can see a show and maybe get comped on a room if you lose enough money. So we don't do that. That's where we are on the S&P. NASDAQ 100 up 0.98%. Another spinning top there. Price is sitting right there on just below the weekly trend line on the 2-day chart. Like the S&P, the NASDAQ is pushed through the weekly trend line. We have a red spinning top. We will keep an eye on things. Volumes moving up, may hit average volume. But again, because we didn't have with the top here, the interim high, we didn't have average volume. We were not interested in pulling the trigger on this down move. So we are just waiting to see and wait for the market to sort itself out and tell us what's actually going on. Now, move on to 20-year U.S. government bonds. We had decent volume last week. Looks like we'll probably get to average volume this week, but you can sort of see where it's not moving above this prior top. Well, a little bit of the wick there, but as far as the candlestick itself goes, it's continued to move up over the last several weeks. But of course, we have struggled with finding anything that you could count on these moves. We had a doji here with average volume. Again, we had average volume in this prior up move. And then, of course, would lead you to believe that if you were going to gamble, things might be going down. It was a red doji. And then things struck over and headed back up, not giving us any indication of the kinds of moves that we are looking for that we feel comfortable with. It has been a little bit hard to see much of a pattern here in the last few weeks when it comes to 20-year U.S. government bonds. So we are hoping that maybe this is going to peak out here, and perhaps next week we might see a red spinning top going down with decent volume. Maybe it'll just continue to push up. If it does, it does. Again, we're not going to jump into something. We don't have a clear pattern to tell us exactly what's going on. We're going to wait for the charts to tell us what to do, not to try to work them into what we would like them to do. Let's move on to gold. Gold popping up strongly today, 1.76%. It's our biggest gainer for the day. And again, we can see the gold candlestick sitting right there on the prior high. The wick has moved above it. Where is gold going? Well, the volume's almost average. We'll keep an eye on it, see what it can lead us to believe. But again, it looks like this market is trying to top out, but again, keeps pushing up a little more, a little more, a little more. It is an election season. We have a big election coming up that means a lot to the party in charge, who has a lot of controls over the levers. You know, the Federal Reserve, now they don't answer to the party in charge, but again, it always seems like between the government agencies, the Treasury, all these people who have their fingers in the pie of the market, the powers that be who are in control in an election year, sure to want to see the market dump out. So it makes it hard, particularly around this time, to get any kind of definable pattern. If they can juice the market up really strong, of course they would love to do that. It appears that it's struggling. Again, struggling, trying to figure out where it's going to go, trying to hold things up, which makes anyone who's putting any real money in the market nervous about where things might go at a moment's notice. I think that's what we're seeing here. What about Bitcoin? It's up 1.32%. We can see that sitting right there on that 2-day candle, right there just below the weekly trend line. Haven't reached the low of last week. We still, from this huge down week that started on the 5th of August, where we had that big down move. 3 weeks after that, spinning tops. Last week, another decent down move. This week, not getting as low as last week, but still, again, a pressure pushing Bitcoin down, popping up, some over the last several days, Monday, Tuesday morning at least, or Tuesday afternoon. It was Wednesday morning, things dropped down and then moved up some over the last, day and a half. So we're keeping an eye on things, but again, no discernible pattern here, and that's okay. When the market tells you to trade, you trade. When it doesn't tell you to trade, you hold fast. By the way, Patreon members, we have weekly vertical crossovers for you. We have none up. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 going down. I'm going to send that information out to you. Remember, everything we load up for you is always at the Patreon page, and then we do send out the emails on Thursday night. You'll have your Charting Cryptos, Commodities, and Currencies link along with your weekly vertical crossovers. Again, look for some of those to practice trade. Remember, we're not a stock calling service. We're an education firm. Want you to train with us. Thank you so much, my friends. Always love to hear from you. CW@chartingwealth.com. God bless. All the best from the whole team at Charting Wealth World Headquarters.